Hello! I attended the recent Colonia The Warning concert, April 2025 if you're from the future. And I wanted to capture not only my experience of seeing The Warning live for the first time, but attending a live concert for the first time at all, in case future me wants a reminder someday. And yes, Colonia is the 100% lore accurate way to pronounce the city's name. The totally very funny joke here being that at the start of the concert, Danny said that they don't know how to pronounce the name properly, so they'll stick to Colonia, which is the Spanish version of the name. Okay, now that you stopped laughing, I considered starting with my experiences chronologically, but I recognize it's very likely you are not, in fact, future me. You probably want to hear me talk about your favorite band, so I'll talk about the band first. My very first impression of the band, Dani, Pau, Ale, was their outfits. They weren't really anything out of the ordinary for them based on other live performances I have seen on YouTube, but that's YouTube. After seeing so many normal people with just everyday clothes walking around, and then in the same environment, The Warning walks in like it's a fashion show, it made an impression. I did not expect that, but they looked fantastic and I appreciate the effort they put in. Now the music. I may be a bit off as I wasn't taking notes and my memory is disappointingly human, but I believe they played the whole Keep Me Fed album, their biggest hits from the previous album, namely Disciple, Money, Choke, and Evolve, as well as Narcissista, which were all to be expected, but also a few surprises. Dani had a solo bit that lasted the length of an entire song, just her and her guitar. It was not quite the sounds I went there to hear, but it was lovely in its own way. I listened to it on YouTube earlier today to see if it hits different with the right mood, and it does. It's really nice. They also did an extended outro of Escapism, which at first I found a bit confusing, because I thought they were doing a transition like they did in Pepsi in Mexico City with Dust to Dust into Dough Knives. So I was sitting there racking my brain trying to figure out what they're playing, and then it became obvious it's Escapism. It was absolutely glorious. I loved it. The other songs I remember them playing were Survive, where Paul let the crowd sing part of the opening after it became obvious what song it is, and I must confess I couldn't remember most of the words. So to me it felt like it was a bold move on her part, but the rest of the Colonia crowd proved that her fate was well placed. I was a bit surprised to hear Survive, but it makes sense. It's their oldest hard hitter, and I'm quite happy I got to hear it live. It's a great song. Martirio, however, which is the last song I remember them playing, not chronologically but in general, that I really wasn't expecting. They played all their Spanish songs, and I didn't think they would do that outside of a Spanish-speaking crowd. I don't know if that's something they consider, but boy am I glad they played it. If you look very closely, right here, that's where I was, behind that pillar. That went on for a while even before the short started. Pau had to gently remind us to shut up so I can continue with the show. It was really nice to randomly do that with all the homies, whom I don't know, but we're still homies because we all like The Warning, all of us, and also my friend who only kinda likes The Warning was there as well, right there behind that pillar here. More on that later. He said they play nice, but it's not quite his type of music, aside from a few songs. And he also said that the drummer gave it her all. Granted, he was so deep inside that pillar that he only really got to see Dani when she was running around during the encore songs. I don't really have much to say about specific songs they played, aside from the things that I already said, except for maybe Apologize. Apologize, you guys. This was the first time I heard a live rendition of the song, which is why I wasn't sure how much exactly I like it before. But now that I've heard it, I can safely say, God damn! It was everything I wanted it to be. And while my top 4 songs remain the same, I no longer have any clue what the order is. Just listen to this. It's not the whole song, but listen. Much better view than behind the pillar, not only. On my skin, just a chat that my heart's still beating, and how does she sound like that? Paulina can scream at me anytime she wants. Anyway, How You Call a Dream and Sharks used to be my first/second favorite songs, with Sharks being first if it's the Paulina War General live version, which is what they did in Colonia and probably everywhere else, and it was biblical. Third/fourth used to be Escapism and Apologize, with a question mark because I hadn't heard the live rendition of Apologize, which apparently for some reason it matters to me. But now I've heard it and it's definitely top 4. Just don't ask me about the order. I don't do that anymore. Okay, I am now going to focus on my general live show attendance experience, as well as some one-off things which may be more common than I expect, or maybe not, I don't know. If you just wanted to hear what I had to say about the band and the performance, you can hop off now. Alright, first, I was staying at a friend's place, but that place was not in Colonia. We had to catch a train to get to the show, and I'll skip most of the details, but the trains were both packed. So we spent the rides standing, plus we walked 30 minutes to the station and then 30 minutes to the venue. So by the end of the show, we'd spent 1 hour walking and 4 hours standing. And that's not much if you're used to it. I've walked in a factory line and I did way more than that on a daily basis. But let me tell you, if you're not used to that kind of strain, it will wreck your legs. I spent most of the time between music trying to keep my legs from falling apart. It was unpleasant. This, in a way, ties to something I wanted to talk about regarding live performances. They're great. There's a ton of benefits of seeing a band play live, such as chanting with the homies, seeing the performance in 3D, just being in a crowd of at least somewhat like-minded individuals as a social animal, and etc. etc. However, I left the event with the knowledge that live is not a strictly better listening experience. This might be obvious to all of you who have attended live shows, or maybe you disagree, but I have a newfound appreciation for sitting at home and playing what I want, when I want, being able to dedicate my full focus to the music I listen to, play the version that I like at the volume that I like, replay things that I want to hear again, and etc. It's so easy to blink and miss a part of a song in a live setting, whatever reason, such as trying to find a way to move your aching legs in a jam-packed venue, or someone is trying to leave for a beer or come back with a beer, and you have to find a way to make space for them without hugging some random people, who are also homies because of their impeccable taste of music. Or even just clapping and singing along felt like it made some parts of the song just whiz by, which is likely because that requires some degree of focus, and that makes our sense of the passage of time speed up. It's actual science. Of course, there's also the time and money investment required to attend, and probably more things I can't think of right now. Don't get me wrong, I love the experience and I'm happy I got to attend the show, but at the same time, if I could magically do all my listening live, I wouldn't. I would do a lot more than one show every 30 years for sure, but I'd also do a lot of listening at home. And while the tribulations of my fragile legs are still fresh in our memory, I would also like to mention the 30-minute break between the warm-up band and the headliners. There was so much nothing in that period that some guy next to me who was shouting "warning, warning" switched to "boring, boring," which is quite rude, but I also find it kind of funny how the same sounds work with different words. In light of that, I would like to offer my educated speculation on why that happened. I think that's a rule of the venue, because my friend said the exact same thing happened at the exact same venue a few months ago when he went to listen to some country music. And it doesn't normally happen in other places. He's been to shows elsewhere so he can compare. My speculation is that the venue wants people to have time to go back and buy some beer so they can earn more coins. So there's a 30-minute gap between the warm-up and the headliners. I'm not sure how well that worked. I didn't see that many people leaving during that time, and I saw plenty of people leaving and coming back with filled cups during the actual performance. I didn't have a good view of most of the venue though, so maybe they earned some good coins, I don't know. Next, I kind of mentioned that, but by God was that place packed. And I don't know what was happening, but the people in front of me kept inching back. Some people at the front must have been doing something to shuffle people at the back, because as people were moving back, there wasn't any space left open, so something must have been happening. Anyway, I got a really close-up of the back of some guy's head and there was a lot of accidental touching. But with some people going about for drinks or whatever it is they were doing, we got some reshuffling going on, and after the first half of the headline show or so, I settled at what ended up being a more permanent spot. Also, as I mentioned earlier, I was close to a pillar, so half the time I couldn't see Dani, except for her face sometimes through the holes of the pillar which were there by design. Here's a picture. See how there's holes in there? And there was also a cable that went through the middle of Dani's face when I did get to see her. And all that was quite unfortunate, but I choose to be happy about the other half of the performance when I did get to see her. That includes the majority of the second half, which is the better half to get to see fully anyway. I also bought some merch, this shirt and a hoodie with the logo. And I have some thoughts about the band's merch as a whole. The options available felt very limited. I suspect they can't have a ton of different options because they can only carry so much and they want the stuff that sells, right? So that makes sense, but I still wish they had more cool stuff. Like ponchos. They're a Mexican band. Why aren't they selling branded ponchos? I want a black poncho that says the warning on it, but also they could do more memes and stuff that people would want to wear even if they didn't know the band. That way, if you see someone wearing that shirt in public and you see, hey, that's actually a funny meme, what's the warning? And then they look them up and they love the music because it's a great music. Makes sense, doesn't it? Like, where's my greedy little fucker shirt? I suspect people would want to wear that even if they didn't know the band. I mean, you can censor fucker, I guess, if you want. I don't know how that works, but I would buy too. Because I'm a greedy little fucker. It's all about the cold hard cash, hun. That would probably also sell. Is that ironic? Slap apologized a bunch of times on a shirt with an outline of Paulina's face in the background and glints where the eyes are. That's a cool shirt even if you don't know the band, right? Compare that to a shirt that says sick with the image of 3 lovely ladies on it. It's good, but if you don't know the band, would you wear it? Oh, it's kinda cool actually. And they do have some really neat options on the website, but most of them weren't available at the venue. Anyway, I'm getting lost in the sauce. I'm surprised they didn't have shirts and hoodies with the proper logo of the band, like this, and with the lightning bolt at the back. They didn't have jackets at the venue. I wish they did, that's awesome. I guess the golden logo is the Keep Me Fed themed version, but I'm still surprised that's all they had. Alright, lastly, ear protection. I used to work in a call center. Strongly recommend against that, by the way. So my ears are a bit damaged and I was worried a rock concert might buzz them pretty bad. So I bought some presumably high quality ear protection. Those bad boys here specifically. I'm not sponsored, but if you're from the company who made them and you would like to give me money, I'll take them. They did a wonderful job. I'm not sure if the €1 plugs that they sold at the merch store would do a similar job to these, but if they do, I strongly recommend using earplugs at concerts. I listen to some songs with the earplugs deep within my ears, which I don't recommend. Some songs without them at all, because Paul's mic wasn't loud enough sometimes, and I was wondering if the earplugs are to blame, which they weren't. And I eventually settled on what I would call normally plugging my ears, which naturally worked better than all the other options. The biggest difference I noticed was that some of the more popping sounds, like the cymbals and the crowd clapping, were not so overpowering, plus the murmur of the crowd was almost gone. So, as far as I'm concerned, it was the same sounds, but better quality. I'm sure some of you enjoy the whole range for a more authentic live experience, or for some other reason, in which case, power to you. Based on my personal experience, I love these earplugs. That's all I've got to say. The show was great and I hope I'll get to see them live again sometime. Likely not soon, but I'll wait. You have a good one. Cheers.